So firstly, I'm very happy that we have the three pathways. I've taught all the three pathways and I've completed the curriculum. I've obviously read through, studied and taught and seen how the students are reacting and what they're liking, not liking, etc. So I just wanted to share my feedback for you to make a better decision when you're choosing the pathway. And also I'll tell you what are the level 1, level 2 students right now, in case they are curious about the pathway, what are the things that they can look at. So let's quickly see. So when I'm looking at the portfolio management, let me just give you a brief about what it is about, because I've already discussed the syllabus part in more detail earlier as well. So I'll just revise through that. So normally when you're looking at the kind of job roles and all we are looking at with the portfolio management, you'll have about 3 chapters on equity, 3 chapters on fixed income, and how do you put the portfolio. It will not be equity research point of view, but it will be equity portfolio point of view. Passive investment, active investment, what are the strategies people use. So on a more broader level, what kind of strategies in the way of investing in equity and fixed income and all. So it is more about the portfolio management. So when you're looking at asset management industry, fund management, equity research, mutual funds, PMSs, etc. So all those things are going to be coming in over here. When we're looking at the private market, it is about, there's one chapter on infrastructure, one on real estate. There's one chapter on private equity, one chapter on private debt. There's one private equity, again, venture capital, and about how the structure and all is there. So over here, again, we're looking at more of VC, PE, infra, real estate, investment banking industry. That is what you're looking at over here in this one. And private wealth is your wealth planning. Wealth planning, I believe you understand broadly, where you're recommending clients, etc., how to design their wealth, or, even design the trust, how they want to leave money to charity, how they want to do wealth planning and all at a much higher level. So somebody with, let's say, I would say at least maybe a $5 million, so 40 crore plus of net worth of somebody with a good amount of investable assets. So that is where we are looking at the wealth planning part. How do they make tax advantages? How do they create maybe an entity in Singapore or something in order to manage their investments and all. So all those factors, behavioral biases, how the family structure works and all. So all those things are going to be coming in over there. So this is broadly your 3 pathways. You can go through the syllabus in more detail in the syllabus lecture. So here, so my take on this, and also with the interaction with the students and all studying this is, so in portfolio management, I would say the difficulty is the highest. So it is somewhere, I'm just giving a score out of 10. That's obviously a subjective score. So portfolio management seems to be a little more difficult. Private market, although we have numericals and all in private market also, but it is relatively easy from what I see. And private wealth, I think it's easiest, but then I found it to be a little more on the theoretical side. And there's a lot of repetitive of content, which makes it a little lengthy. So for example, I might be using the term, or I might be referring to the term, let's say an economic balance sheet or a holistic balance sheet of an individual in 4 different ways, or, referring to the goals-based planning multiple times in different ways and all. So it becomes a little repetitive. So therefore, it might be a little faster for you to study. It is lengthy, but because it is repetitive, the similar concepts being discussed in different ways. So that way it is going to be relatively easier in terms, as the content is relatively on the easier side, except for maybe, those behavioral biases part, which you've studied in level 1. So there it makes a little confusing at times, but otherwise the content is relatively on the easier side. Even private market is not very difficult. Portfolio management pathway, again, the students who find fixed income relatively more difficult are going to be having a bit of a challenge over here, but it's not that you'll not be able to study or you'll not be able to understand. Of course you will be able to. It's just that you might have to work a little extra. So I'm looking at it from a comparison between the 3 pathways over here. Lengthy wise, again, portfolio management seems to be the lengthiest. Private market actually seems to be the lightest to me, even when I've taught. And private wealth, because it is a little theoretical and a little lengthy in terms of the subjective content also. So I found it a little on the lengthier side over here. When I'm looking at tricky, confusing, again, portfolio management, because of a little bit of fixed income element. Private markets has numericals, decent amount of numericals, both of them have, but it's still on the easier side in my opinion. Private wealth, again, there's nothing much confusing. It's quite normal and straightforward when we're looking at the content. Maybe you might find a little bit of taxes related calculations a little tricky, but otherwise nothing as such. And numerical wise, portfolio and private market both have decent amount of numericals, and it's quite interesting. Private wealth, again, more about the taxes and all, but there are calculations, but not as much as when you're looking at the portfolio management private market. And the calculations are not like quants kind of calculations, so don't worry about it. And interesting wise, I found private markets to be most interesting. interesting. There is a little bias here because portfolio management is something that I've already taught. So private market seemed newer. So therefore I found it more interesting. Private wealth I found less interesting because the content was a little repetitive, as I told you. Similar terms being discussed in different ways across chapters. So that makes it easy for you when you're studying, but it's again personal preferences and all. Although I find portfolio management very interesting as well because I enjoy fixed income, derivatives, equity, etc. Derivatives is not in portfolio management, but I'm just giving you an idea that I enjoy those topics a lot. But private market was relatively newer to me, learning about a few things, especially in the infra and real estate chapter. That, according to me, a kind of a feedback of teaching all the three pathways together. So now if you are a student who has already passed level 2, so the first thing that you do is you check the syllabus. So I've discussed the syllabus in more detail about the pathways. You need to see that. Second, there is a quiz that I've created for the pathways. If you're confused, if you know, see, the priority is the role and industry. So if you know that I want this role, I want to be in this industry, this is what I want to do in the long term. Forget about what is tricky, what is numerical, what is difficult, what is easy. Don't bother about anything. Just simply based on the role and industry, what you want, not the current role or industry where you are working right now, but potential or the target industry, the target kind of a role that you want to get into in the next 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, wherever you want to be. Based on that, you make a choice. So forget about all the tricky, lengthy, etc. that I've discussed. It is immaterial then. Second is, if you're still confused, then you check the syllabus and take the quiz. And you'll have a fair understanding. Even if you take the quiz, you'll have an understanding of the syllabus and you'll be able to make a very, very informed decision. Only if somebody is really very, very scared of fixed income, in that case, you may want to avoid portfolio management, but it is doable. I'm not trying to scare you. Please don't try to exaggerate what I'm saying. It is just that there are students I've seen at times where they just do not like fixed income. I don't know why. Only in that case, if you want, you skip portfolio management. But if that is where you want to make your career, take it up as a challenge. Now you've qualified level 1 and 2. What is the problem? You will be able to do it. Don't worry about it. Credit strategies, yield curve strategies, etc. It's very interesting and you'll understand. We'll discuss all the graphs. We'll make all the graphs in the class. You'll not have a problem. So it's just a caveat. I just wanted to mention it because I want to put all the information out there to you. So it's not like a rocket science or something that you'll not be able to. It's nothing like that at all. So I'm not trying to discourage you from taking portfolio management at all. So I'm just trying to put the facts together. But this role industry part is the most important thing according to which you need to take a call. Okay, now if a student is right now in level 1 or in level 2, firstly, you don't have to do anything right now. You don't need to decide right now. You'll have to decide after level 2 is passed, after you passed level 2, right? Second, you can also wait and evaluate. If you are doing internships or you're working in companies, etc., in an industry, you can evaluate your experience right now and you can see whether you're liking that industry, that role or not. Otherwise, that is also not very relevant or important. Now, in the first pathway, we've got more of equity fixed income. So if when you're studying for CFA level 1 or level 2, whichever level you're in, so equity fixed income is going to be more on the first pathway. Alternate investments will have bits and pieces of a little bit of fixed income there, but it's more of alternate investments in the second pathway in your private markets. And the RRTT LLU, the risk return, time horizon and tax issues, legal issues and liquidity, unique constraints, all those things we had studied in the investment policy statement. That is where we are going to be focusing in a lot more detail in private wealth. So since in case you're just curious and you're in level 1 or 2 right now, so I just wanted to tell you this is what is going to be leading or being used in your third level 3 pathways. So just in case you want to keep this in mind or something, otherwise it's not needed. Right now, you don't need to think about anything. Just study, learn, enjoy your learning process. And once your level 1 and 2 is over, complete, then we are going to be taking care of level 3 pathway.